So every business needs resources in order to be able to co-create value with its stakeholders. There are two types of resources, intangible and tangible resources. So a tangible resource is a physical resource like a raw material. An intangible resource would be something like goodwill or intellectual property. Historically, businesses have only focused on those resources that they need to pay for, that cost them money. The challenge with this is that there are many other resources that every business takes advantage of that they don't pay for, and those have been known as externalities in many cases. And businesses typically do a lot of harm to those resources, and they don't care about those resources because they haven't had to pay for them. But they are necessary and vital. So on the canvas, the resources box is shown as overlapping not only the economic context, but also the social and the environmental. So in the economic context, you can start to think about resources you have to pay for. And in the social context, you can start to think about social resources that you don't have to pay for. And in the environmental perspective, you can start to think about resources that are coming from the environment that you don't have to pay for. So to give one example in this latter category, think about if you're driving a transport truck to deliver your product or service, that transport truck is combusting oxygen along with the fuel oil that it's using to drive, which you've had to pay for. That oxygen you don't pay for, and yet it is a critical resource to that transportation activity. And your rights to that resource is something that you need to pay attention to, because you're going to change that oxygen through the combustion in the engine into carbon dioxide and other pollutants. So thinking about resources not only economically, socially, and environmentally is a critical aspect of thinking about sustainable business modeling.
Really, really important that we look at resources in these three contexts. What we find in the early stages of enterprise development is that a lot of resources are actually intangible. And so when we think about resources, we think about physical products, we think about physical things that we're paying for. Try and think about the things that are needed in these early stages. Remember, you're working towards a specific time on your canvas that are really critical to getting your enterprise off the ground. Often these things are skills or IP related.